Hey, Mr. Weaver here. I'm going to go through a couple of things that you might need to know how to do in Google Slides. So, first thing you're going to need to be able to do is put in a text box. So, there's a T with a box. If you hover over it, it says text box. Click on it, then you can click and drag however large you want to make it. So, what are my top 3 favorite foods? I'm going to say pizza, nachos, and chicken. Next thing, if I want to be able to adjust what the text looks like, I can click on by double clicking and highlight, and I can change my font. So I like this one. If I want to make it larger, I can either type in the number that I want, or I can click my plus or minus until I get it to how I want it to look. If I want to make it thicker, I can click bold. If I want to make it kind of italicized, which makes it slanted, I can click the I. Underline is the U. If I want to change the color, I can click on the A. The line under it shows you what color, so I'm going to change it to blue. Okay, I'm going to change all of these to different things. Just going to pick some. We're going to make them all the same size. And I'll make them all different colors. So again, just click, highlight, change the color. Now, let's say you were asked to make a list of things. So instead of typing in 1 and then 2 and then 3, what you can do is just click on the box so there's not the little cursor. And then over on the side here in our toolbar, we have one that says numbered list. It's got a 1, 2, and 3. You can just click on it and it will make your numbers for you. Had you wanted to make bullet points instead, the one right next to it is your bullet points. And if you wanted to change the shape, you got some options. Okay, I'm going to stick with bullet points. All right. Other things you might need to do with text, change where it's located. So if you want it to be centered, it generally is going to default to the left align. If you want it to be centered, you can click the one next to it. The right align will align it on the right side, and then full, can't really see what it does here, but it essentially spreads it out along the entire box as much as it possibly can. I'm going to center it for now. For this next part, I'm going to drag my text box larger down so you can see what it does. If I want my text to be at the top, there's a button right below the left align that is aligned at the top. If I want it to be in the middle, I can click the one that says aligned in the center, and if I want it at the bottom, there's that. So I'm going to keep it at the top. And those are pretty much the things that you need to be able to do with the text. On this next slide, we're going to look at some of the different things we can do with the shapes and being a little bit more creative on how things look. So here's a mind map to brainstorm different types of animals. We just have animals in the middle. If I want to make a mind map that's got different shapes around the outside with lines connecting. So to make my shapes, there's a circle and a square. I'm going to click on that. And the top one is shapes. I have all of these different shapes to choose from. If I want an arrow, even if I want my shape to be an arrow, I can still click any of these. Your callouts are even more types of shapes, little banner symbols, or the little like talking bubbles. And then the last one has different equation things. You probably won't use these bottom ones unless you want the brackets. So I'm going to choose my shape. I'm going to pick something other than an oval. I'm going to see what this box looks like. So it looks kind of like a picture frame. I'm going to go with it. So I clicked and dragged. I can click the corners, make it larger, smaller, taller, wider. Sometimes your shapes will have these little yellow diamonds. If you drag them, it changes part of the shape to make them thinner or thicker. And then above each shape, there's going to be a little circle. That is for rotation. So if I want to rotate my shape, I can click and drag it around. Okay? Some shapes can't really tell what happens when you rotate it, or if you rotate it a certain amount, it's back to what it was. So play around with it. One thing about the shapes, you can actually type in them. If you double click on them, you can type right in the box. You don't have to add a text box, you just double click. Same rules apply if I want to change the color or the size, change where it's centered, and so on. I can do that. Now, with the shapes, you can change the background and the border colors. So, if I want to change this to a different color, there's a paint bucket over here with the colors, and I can choose them. If I want to change the border, right next to it there's a little border pencil. I can pick that, and if I want to be able to see the border a little bit thicker, I can change how thick the border goes. I don't really like that green, I'm going to change it to hot pink. Now we can kind of see it better. Alright. Let's say I want to keep everything the same size. So I like this box, how it looks. I'm just going to copy it. So up in Edit, there is Copy, and then if I want to click somewhere else and then paste it, I will get another copy, and I can click and drag it to where I want it to go. And then I can double click and just change my text to what I want it to be. So that's a little bit too big, so I'm going to use my minus sign to make it a little smaller so it fits. Now, for a mind map, I need to be able to connect. So right next to the shapes, there's a line. So I can click the line and drag and then move it to where I want. I generally make my lines away from everything else so I can get it how I want it to look. If you make the lines too close to the objects, so let's see, notice these purple dots show up. If I make my lines too close, the line connects to those purple dots, which sometimes is helpful, sometimes not. Up to you. Just like before, if I want to make the lines thicker or changed color, I can change their color and their thickness. And then another thing about lines, you can change what type of line it is. So if you want it to be a dashed line or dots, keep it solid for now. If you want to change your line into an arrow, you can click this line start or the line end, and it will change it to an arrow. And there are different types for you. Okay, those are the things that you can do with shapes and lines. A couple other things that you might need to know how to do. If you need a new slide, you can click on the slide at the top and just click new slide. If you don't want these boxes, just click on them and delete. Sometimes they're helpful. Again, up to you. If you want to just copy a slide from before, there's also this duplicate slide. Okay. Other things you can insert into your slides, you can put in audio, so you could record yourself, kind of like I'm doing here. You could put in videos, so maybe you were asked to find a video or record yourself and you want to put it in there, you can do that. You can put in a table, put in charts, lots of other things. Next, if you want to be able to change your background, you can click over on the left side so that it is not clicking on any of your text, and then background will show up. If you click on that, you can choose a solid color. You can click gradient and it will kind of make like a pattern, a faded pattern. So like if I wanted this blue one, it's kind of lighter in the middle, darker on the outsides. Or you can click choose image you have a couple of options of where you can get your image from. If you have it on your computer already, you could upload it. If you had it in your photos, you could click there. Or there's a cool Google image search. So I don't know what I want my background to be. All I know is I want it to be blue. So I'm just going to type in blue. And it gives you lots and lots of different blue colored backgrounds. So I like this one right here. So I'm going to choose it, click insert, wait for it to show up, and it's done. Okay, now I have that cool background. Notice it's kind of hard for me to read, so you can always click on that text box again, change the background color to something where it's easier to read, drag it, make sure it's a little bigger, adjust things to make sure your stuff is readable. If you wanted that slide to be on all of your things, you can click add to theme instead of just done, and notice all of my slides now have that background. If instead of a solid background and you want to use a theme, there are other types of backgrounds that you can choose. So maybe you like how this one looks, you can click it, it will change all of your backgrounds to that theme. If you don't like it, click a different one. Okay, you can choose what's better. One last thing that sometimes might be important, depending on the type of project you're doing. When you're in Google Slides, your shapes and text boxes kind of layer over each other as you add them. So kind of like a stack of paper. When you add a new paper, it goes on top and covers up what was there. Well, sometimes you'll have to have things overlap, and you might have added the wrong one first. So what you can do is switch the order. In order to do that, click on the object you want to change, and then at the top here there's arrange, order, and you can choose if you wanted to bring it all the way to the very top, bring it up one, send it down one, or send it all the way to the bottom, to the back. So if I wanted this one to be all the way at the back, I can do that. And now if I move it, notice it's behind everything else, because I sent it to the very back. If you want to share, you can click the share button. It will pop up and you can choose what email address you want to share it with. If you want to present it to see what it looks like at full screen, there's your options with that. Okay. And